Thank you, Amelia. I tell you, when you are associated with organizations like the WBDC, where I kind of cut my teeth with the founders and all and kind of learn the trade of supplier diversity, it makes it really easy to volunteer because you know that whatever we talk about, whatever the mission critical items are, the team at WBDC is going to get it done. So it makes being the chair of their board really easy because we're a think tank and they go do all the hard stuff and we come out all it's good for the whole business. So with that, thank you. So it's my pleasure today to host this event, and I think it's critical to do these forums because relevance is the key to sustainability. And so, as we talk about the changing marketplace and supplier diversity and procurement, it's important that you all know what's going on so that you can continue to navigate the terrain of corporate America and get business. And so, this panel is going to talk about some real critical issues, and you'll get a chance to ask them some questions after. So, it's my pleasure to introduce the panelists today. I'm going to introduce you, and then they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves. So, Shaleta Dunn is on my far right, and she is Director of Diverse Talent and Supplier Programs for ManpowerGroup. Next to her is Eric Nest, who is the District Director for the U.S. Small Business Administration, SBA for the Wisconsin District. Mino Sofadino is the president and owner of Custom Service Plastics, which is CSP and Custom Service Manufacturing. So can't wait to hear what you guys say. That manufacturing business is a tough one. Jean Marie Field is the president of Belonger Corporation, Inc. Charlotte Tisdale is the procurement and business development manager for the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District. And joining us from Wells Fargo, and it's great to have you as a sponsor and on our panel, is Gina Peter, who is the Executive Vice President, Division Manager for the North Central Region and the Middle Market Banking for Wells Fargo Company. So can we give our panelists a hand? Before we start to ask questions, I'd like to just start with Shaleta. You can tell us more about what you do, your role in your organization, and anything you want to say about Manpower and the work.
Sure. Thank you all so much. I just want to take a moment to say thank you all for making the commitment to be here. It only further grows and develops your company. And these events help us to know the folks that are out there that can help us to really meet our clients' needs. So we're so thankful that you're all here, and hopefully we'll have the same presence in other cities that are being sponsored. So ManpowerGroup, as Debra introduced me, and hopefully many of you all know, ManpowerGroup is the leader in workforce solutions. We have 4 brands that help us to identify how to help our clients as it relates to any of their workforce challenges. Manpower, which is our oldest and biggest brand, that really works with clients to help in manufacturing, light industrial, clerical, administrative type contingent opportunities for their workforce. Right Management, which is our outplacement and organizational development part of our organization. Experis, which helps on professional type services, so our accounting, finance, IT, engineering, they're all verticals for Experis and those types of positions. And then also our ManpowerGroup Solutions, which houses our MSP, our managed service provider, Tapfin, which is the largest MSP in the world. And we are always excited to help all of our clients as it relates to that. But we wouldn't be who we are if it wasn't for our diverse suppliers. We really utilize them to help us to meet our clients' needs, which is why our supplier diversity strategy is definitely a part of our overall corporate strategy. We know that partnering with our diverse suppliers really helps us to provide innovation and creativity, as well as solutions that take us to the highest level when it comes to our competitors. And so not only do we embrace supplier diversity and our diverse suppliers, but we also know that the partnerships we develop with them are important to what we do at ManpowerGroup. My responsibility is to locate those diverse suppliers, help them to grow and develop them, and to really create a program for supplier diversity that's an advanced program in order to match our diverse suppliers as well as to align them with our corporate strategy. Thanks, Debra.
Thank you. Thank you. Eric, please share it.
I'm Eric Ness. I'm the Wisconsin District Director. Our mission is to help start and grow a business. Way back, I think when I was 10 years old, I started my own business. I went and ordered seeds out of a Gurney's catalog. I don't know if you remember the Gurney's catalog, folks, and grew pumpkins and squash, and basically had too many of them. So then I had a problem. How do I sell them? So then I contacted my mom and dad and asked if I could use the truck. But I'm 10 years old, I can't use the truck. So then I asked my grandmother, will you drive me to town? So she drove me to town, and we parked at a metered parking lot, and I sold pumpkins and squash out of the back of the truck, putting money in the meter. When it came to be lunchtime, my grandmother said, well, you have to pay for my lunch. So that wasn't really a part of my business plan at that point. So I said, well, okay, and if I want to get home, I better pay for lunch, right? And so, and the other unfortunate thing, though, is we parked in front of a grocery store. That community had some laws about selling stuff on the main street in front of the grocery store. So then the police came. So then the police went to my grandmother and she said, this isn't my business, that's him, talk to him. So I learned a little bit about delegation. And then I also figured out, and he was very, very nice, saying, you should sell at this point. And then I didn't have to plug the meters anymore. So that was good. But now, as an SBA person, my job is to help you all and your businesses to help get them starting and growing and getting the information you need. And we do that through capital, we do it through contracting, and we do it through counseling. And I need to mention this, we also play a role with disaster as we're seeing all the rain and all of the things coming on the, especially Wisconsin-Illinois border, and I'm hearing some other things up in northern Wisconsin. So we do loans for our disaster, people who have been negatively affected by disaster. So that's about me. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mino, as a president of your own company, can you tell us what you do?
Yes, my name is Mini Sefodini. I, by education, I'm engineer, and I was a adjunct professor at UW for over 16 years. That was my side job when I worked in big corporation, and I teach at engineering. But dream was to have my own company, and I started 17 years ago. I started with a very, very small company with 8 employees, including myself. But it was the best things happened to me because I had engineering and I know what to do to just get. But 17 years ago, Eric knows me big time, and yes, it was not that easy to get to where I'm not that big yet, but this dream is still I was gonna be. But I found out what, as a manufacturing, is very, very hard to get what you want to do. And I started with 12,000 square feet as a plastic injection molding company, and we are about 300,000 square feet in this moment with 160 employees, and we are hoping by the end of this year we are hiring between 30 to 40 more employees. But in 2007, 2004, I keep expanding the business because I grow, and there was a reason, and I'm hoping in the end I can share with you what you guys do, how I get to here. And then 2007, I started different. I just said I have to diversify injection molding because it's very competitive, and if anything happened to me, I'm done. But I 3M Corporation contact me. Do you want to open a die cutting business for us? I just said, yes, I would. And I really, really, really worked very hard to open in 2007 another operation completely was new to me, and that operation is one of the most successful operation in the United States. And in the 3M history, they never had any supplier like us. But I learned and I knew what to do to just be successful. And we are 5 years in a row, we had the award from 3M, but August 4th, they said, okay, we're going to get another reward. I said, okay, the sixth one, they said, no, this one, because as a woman-owned business, you are from the corporate center, means all over 3M. I am one of the women, and that's the only woman business who get the award in August 4th in Minneapolis. But that's the beauty of the manufacturing. We do what we do. Die cutting, we do die cutting for the catalytic converter. All the cars is 100% automotive, and we send these parts all over the world. And if you have a Honda, any place in the world they make, I make the parts. But we make, there is a lot, yes. But there is a lot of, it's not easy. We have to put, but one thing I know as women, we are good. We know how to put things together. We are very detailed. We are take everything's not by heart, and that's the help. But manufacturing is beautiful things in my life because I am a manufacturing engineer.
Sure. Construction is another hard area for women. So talk to us about your work.
Yeah, so I am in the construction industry. My name is Jean Marie Thiel, and I'm the president and owner of Belanger. I too started my company 17 years ago. In fact, I'm very familiar with Minu and what she's been able to accomplish, and I've seen her centers and her customers, and it's very impressive. But I'm about 32 years in the construction industry. I started working for my dad and my grandpa when I was 12 and 14 years old, hauling pipe and cleaning out boilers. And then probably around when I was 24, I had finished about 3 undergraduate degrees, plus I had a paralegal degree, and I was getting a lot of job offers from the state and government. And I walked into my dad's office one day and said, "What is the plan?" And I had 5 brothers and sisters, of which most were men in the industry, and they were family-owned company, and the brother-in-laws and male guys in the construction industry were taking the lead. I was the only college educated. I was the first person in my family history to ever actually get a college degree. And, you know, where I stand now is 17 years ago, I started my construction company in my basement with $1,000, a pipe machine, and a van. Today, we've been in business 17 years. We average about $10 million a year. I have about 35 employees. We're in 7 states this year. We're on the training center for the Bucks. We're on Milwaukee Streetcar. We did Green Bay Stadium, Packer Stadium. We did Harley-Davidson Museum. We work for MMSD. We work for Veolia. We work for a lot of different agencies, Harley-Davidson, We Energies. We do state, federal, city, county. And we are also a certified small business. So we're a Native American woman-owned small business. What I would tell you is it comes from the heart what we do. As all of you are here today, you also invest your time and energy, and I welcome this opportunity, and I'm humbled to be asked here. because I'm still trying to do what you're all trying to do, which is to have a successful company and enjoy what we do in life, because work is work, life is life, and we're only here once. And I want to have something when I'm gone that I know I've improved the world in which we live in. And it might sound a little antiquated, but when I started my company, I went around and I asked, how many women construction companies? I could find women construction companies. There's women construction companies. Then I went around and asked, how many mechanical specialty trades, plumbing, wastewater, welding, sheet metal, compressed gas, plumbing companies? When I started, there was not one certified in the nation. And 5 years later, there was 6. I've had the pleasure of meeting about 9 to date. So there are different mix and different market spaces where you'll have a lot of women or you'll have not so many. Oftentimes I walk in a room in a job meeting or a construction meeting and I'm not the only woman. But it's oftentimes interesting to see where we all fall within the wheel in terms of how we build and move work in our community and in our country. I feel blessed to be doing what I'm doing, but it's a lot of hard work and a lot of sleepless nights. But I'll tell you, you're not alone, and we're all with you. And no matter what stage of development you're in, we've all been there and we can relate. So when somebody said, when you started your company, would you do it again? That's an easy answer. Of course I would. It was great. It was exciting. I was young. I had tons of energy. I didn't know what was coming. But I would really, really like a self-help book for stage 2 exit left. like you built it, you're there, and what do you do with what you've done? I mean, that brings an interesting dynamic. So I think every one of us here has something to offer each other, because we're all at different stages in our life cycle and in our business cycle. So thank you for having me, and I hope to offer you some insight as well as I hope to gain insight from you all.
So I'm Charlotte Tisdale, and a lot of you know me probably from different jobs. The only thing constant is that I'm at these forums, the jobs change. I just have different. So either I'm very, very good at this, or I can't keep a job. So you just decide which one it is.
You're very good.
So the Metropolitan Milwaukee Sewage District is a state municipal taxing entity. A lot of people don't know that we are not part of the city or the state of Wisconsin. We are a separate tax district. We are governed by a commission of 11 commissioners. We are our own entity. That's what I want to make sure everybody understands that. We serve approximately 1.2 million people in 28 communities in southeast Wisconsin. So what do? It's not just the flush, okay? It's really like magic, right? You flush and then the dog goes away and you don't have to see it again. Well, that's primarily what we do. We are a waste management and a flood management. In that capacity, we manage the 2 plants, Jones Island and South Shore, as well as a flooding station. We have a contract with Veolia, and Veolia actually manages it for us, and we monitor their procurement. So in my capacity, I am the procurement manager as well as the business development management. And MMSD takes social responsibility very, very seriously. To date, we have spent, we really monitor what we spend with small, women, minority, veteran-owned businesses. And we're at 27.4% this year of our total spending with those type of entities. And this year we're on target probably to spend on capital projects $100 million, and this is a small year. We have a lot of stuff coming up in our plants. There's a lot of them she's working on right now. But I want to emphasize that we do more than just that. We consider ourselves stewards of Lake Michigan. The perfect ecosystem is to return the water to where it was. And so that involves more than just flushing it away and dumping it in Lake Michigan. And what we do is we have green infrastructure projects that help keep places from flooding. We also keep the groundwater, try to do other bioswales and cisterns to make it come back as pure as possible on its way to Lake Michigan. And we also do business development. We take that very seriously. We'll run the programs that make sure that entities, prime contractors, hire local workers and utilize apprentices on certain jobs. And so it's much more than a flush. what I like to say.
All of those things that we see that happen in our community. Technology plays a huge part in businesses now. There's a huge part in social media. We're able to get knowledge and information way quicker than we were able to do before. But also from the manufacturing perspective, there is a huge change in the way that things are manufactured. We have gone to different locations for our clients, and we have seen in many of the factories, they call it the dark room, and that is where all of the robotics have taken over and all of the AI has taken over. It is a huge plant where nothing is going on, but music is being played. So like you're playing music for the robots, but that's exactly what we're seeing, and that changes the spectrum of supplier diversity as well as procurement. And so when we look at our diverse suppliers, we're looking for them to bring their business case to us and how they can provide technology or they can provide to us a creative process or solution that perhaps oftentimes involves technology or helping us to take the technology that we have and utilize it in different ways. And so that's changing the scope of procurement for us and for many of our clients.
Eric, can you speak to that as it relates to SBA? Are you seeing any changes and any examples on what some of the small businesses are doing?
Yes, there's a lot of changes. And I was just looking at our goals for last year, and I looked specifically at of course, the federal goals for women-owned small business is 5% of all federal buys. And in 2015, we hit 5.05%. So we actually made the goal, although that's a floor, and we want to go higher. But in 2016, we actually dropped to 4.79%. So there's a need, and a special need in the federal government for women businesses out there to get into our contracting. Now, one of the challenges, especially with the federal government level, is a lot of the contracts are getting bigger, and it's harder for small businesses to basically get in and do some of that contracting. So from the SBA's perspective, what we've done is we have two programs. One is we have a joint venture program where actually women business owners can work together to bid on that small business contract. And you need our women's business certification, which you can get through the Women's Small Business Development Center. But so you can do a joint venture and bid on one of those small businesses to work together. Also, what went into effect in October of this year is a mentor-protege program, where actually a small business or a women-owned small business or a veteran-owned or service-disabled veteran-owned small business or a hub-zone business or can work with a large business to bid on a small business contract to help you grow your business. So the mentor-protege went into effect this year. I think so far, since October 1st, we're seeing about 10% of large and small businesses joining together for that mentor-protege in the nation. So we got about 10% of the mentor-proteges coming in the women small business area. So that is what SBA is trying to do to try to help women-owned small business and all small businesses to be able to compete and do those larger contracts.
Great. I'm gonna, do you want to share from a small business perspective? Have you seen changes or trends when you're talking with your corporate potential clients?
I see changes. But when you are a woman in business yourself, you always find the woman. So one of my daughters, who has a PhD, always she is my one of biggest suppliers. But that's the decision I made because I want to work with a woman. I want to work with jewelry in the past whenever I have a chance. But what is nice things recently happened? I'm not sure if anybody familiar with the quality certification, because you are manufacturing, you have to be also then you are TS if you are automotive, but TS is changing to another qualification is much higher is IATF 16499. But this is one of that uh, causing what is the asking. Then you are small businesses. In the end, you want to have diversified supplier. When every year when you are certified as a quality, every year they come and audit us to just say whatever we say, we do it, not we just using to say, oh, we are certified. But they look at it, say, do I have any diverse company? And that's really when I find out about this, I am extremely happy because that is forcing lots of big corporation to go, even small corporation like me, to go to the diverse supplier.
That one that is seeing some changing trends within their organization or with any of their suppliers.
So as a lifelong procurement person, I've worked in private sector for Siemens, I've worked for the Milwaukee Brewers Baseball Club, I've worked for a lot of different organizations, always in procurement management. And the thing that has evolved in procurement circles, there is strategic and tactical procurement. And there's a big differentiating factor. Tactical procurement is low bid, commodities, small things. Strategic procurement is a value add proposition by which you are trying to help someone come to a solution. And as organizations that are big look for you, they're looking for solutions to a problem if you are a strategic supplier. The other thing is procurement now is data driven. Whenever somebody comes to me who works for me and says, I made this decision, I want to see why they made the decision quantitatively. It's not an off the cuff, well, I think, I like. They have to tell me why they made the business decision and make a case for my return on my investment. And I think we all do that, but we just don't do it as routinely probably in our head. But that's really important in procurement. The other thing that you would see is that, contrary to popular belief, there is money in environmentally friendly business. I don't know if all of you know, but Milwaukee is a water hub, freshwater hub for the world. There's downtown, there's a big thing taking place at the Freshwater Center where Marquette, UWM, Badger Meter, our company, Veolia Worldwide, is investing in water. Water is big money, and so is environmentally friendly. The idea is a carbon footprint, which I like to make it akin to a doctor that says do no harm. So whatever you're doing and involving resources, you are supposed to return the earth the way it should be. And there's plenty of money in it. Water is the new oil. So if you want to make some money, strategically come up with some solutions, how water is used, potable water is used, home solutions, commercial solutions, and environmentally friendly solutions. And that's probably the biggest thing I could say about coming trends. Don't listen to people saying that environmentally sound business is just this friendly, zen, do good. No, it's money in it.
Good information. So what we're hearing is quality, technology, bundling, data-driven, and there's trends that, we always talk about in supplier diversity, do your homework. So whenever you're going to visit a corporation or you want to either get in the industry or advance in an industry, there's so much reading, so much information that you have to, and so that was just great what you shared with us, Charlotte, about the trends you see. And so that brings me to supplier diversity is usually aligned in the procurement organization. And we know that demographics in terms of the business world are shifting. There's more minority and women-owned companies. And we also know that there's different things within the corporation, like for us, oil prices dropped, procurement changed. So for our supplier diversity group, we had to align ourselves with those businesses and understand where are the niche opportunities, because there's not as many projects as there used to be. So Shaleta, can you talk to us about that whole relationship building as supplier diversity professional, and then the knowledge that your suppliers need to have also to help you help them in terms of being sustainable?
Absolutely. So one of the things that Debra mentioned is having all the information that you possibly can. And you got to know who your customer is. You also have to know who the organization is that you are wanting to do business with. And we talked a bit about technology and how all this information is out there. You have access to it. You don't have to go to the library anymore. You can go right online, go to Google, and write to your customer's website, and you can see all of the information that they have about their company. You can also find out what are their pain points. You can also listen in on their quarterly meetings. Oftentimes you can watch those and you're part of those as they're going on. So they give you access to all of that information so that you can identify essentially what their pain points are. And you can help, as Charlotte talked about, to provide a strategic solution. When it comes to the role that we play from a supplier diversity position, we are that first area of entry to the organization on your behalf. No other supplier that is not certified as a diverse supplier gets that priority that you get as it relates to supplier diversity. And so we're there to not only help you to enter into the organization, but we're also there to help you to learn about the organization, and then to also help you to be a guide, to help you to be guided through the organization. Our responsibility is to build those relationships, identify the strategic opportunities that are available, help you to identify the pain points within our organization, and then to really help you to get through to who you need to talk to so that you can identify your idea, to put your information together so that it aligns to the organization. So if we do presentations in a certain way and we use PowerPoint, we want you to be able to do that so that when you present to our group, if there's another type of presentation format that we use, we want to be able to give you that. But we also want to make sure that you are a great culture fit to our organization, because every organization, every company doesn't work in the cultures that we have. And we have to help you to do that and help you to identify that. So I encourage you to utilize your supplier diversity professional to do that for you and on your behalf. They are your greatest advocate. They also are your greatest partner in getting into their organization. And they also will give you the guidance that you need because they're responsible for helping to bring that to the organization. And your responsibility to them is to make sure that you play a role in giving your best. You come to the table with your best. You listen to them and you allow them to provide that guidance to you because they're putting themselves on the line when they're bringing you into their organization.
Jean Marie, from a supplier perspective, can you talk a bit about relationships that you've built that's helped you in your company as you build relationships with corporate America?
Sure. What I also often say is relationships change just like we change over time. And it's really about trying to get a read on what your client's needs and wants are. And I know it sounds antiquated, like I looked up a self-help book, but it's really about hearing the message. So you, as a business entrepreneur, may want to sell. You know, when I learned about Lockheed, I wanted to do their main boiler plant at their production facility in Texas. Well, they didn't want me to do that. So it didn't matter how well I sold or how much money and time and effort. I had to figure out what Lockheed may or may not want from Belanger. It also goes with not just customers like a We Energies or a MMSD, but it's also agency driven. If you can dial yourself in as a business owner to meet some of the requirements that are agency driven, you start what I call doubling down on your competitive advantage. So I may want to one day aspire to be a general contractor for the Air Force and travel to Guam and Hawaii and all the neat places that the Air Force has bases at. But for me, over time, what I found out is I had to find out what they were willing to entertain at the time and recognize that they made the appointment, they took the phone call, they opened the door, or let's say they set the third meeting with me. Where I may have wanted to take Belanger or myself may not have been at the same pace that the buyer was ready for. Or they may see something that I don't see. because it's from their perspective and they have these other experiences. They're a big business owner. They've been doing maybe what in procurement and supply side selection that I'm not privy to. I just know how to put in a good building, and I know how to quality control check pipe connections and price steel. But from a risk position of a buyer or bringing somebody in, they may see me in a different position than I see myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's trying to listen when you have those meetings, recognizing that there are gatekeepers, there are levels of where you get let in, and your relationship with your customers or your supply side purchasers or your diversity managers or your small business liaison officers, whatever those, they develop over time. And I can tell you right now that there are some people I can call up today after 17 years and say, I can do this. And they don't know if I can do it, but they've known me over 17 years, and they're like, well, she says she can do it. That's all I need. But at the same time, we all know sales don't happen that way, and contracts don't get issued that way. It's about, I still have customers in that first, like, 1,000-foot candle because they're new to me right now. You know, so I might be trying to explain to Northwestern Mutual that I can take over their entire building maintenance, even though they only see me as a construction contractor right now. So for supply side, I would say, remember your relationships evolve. The man or woman you may have married 20 years ago is not the same man and woman you're married to 40 years later. Businesses and relationships evolve, as so should supply side relationships. So that's my suggestion.
I have to add that, pointing to her, that perseverance, she was willing to persevere and keep going at it. But the other thing I really must add is that she's an ideal person for me to do business with. When I walked in here and we said our pleasantries, then she told me what work I have on the street. So she proceeded to tell me what's being bid, what's out there, what she's currently working on, what's coming up. That's a good supplier.
And I just want to echo that. A lot of times, Shaleta talked about us guiding you. There are times when the supplier actually guides us. Mm-hmm. And when you've done your homework well, or you have some experience in whatever industry you're going after, that supplier diversity person, that procurement person wants to hear that, because that just makes it a little bit easier for them to, one, navigate you through the system because you're telling them who you talk to in the other location. And then two, if you've done it for another company and you can give them that experience, it gives them, that reduces their risk. So they're willing to talk a little bit more. So great advice. From a small business, the SBA perspective, who, you know, your business is building and fostering sustainable growth for small businesses in the U.S. for economic viability. Eric, a lot of small businesses do need resources, right? And so as you're trying to grow, and we talked about this being a conversation about capacity building, can you talk to us about where in the SBA chain of organizations there are resources that can help small businesses to grow and build capacity?
Well, the learning I took from my police experience is I don't know everything. And I think a lot of small businesses, you're doing a certain thing, you're producing a product, but there's other parts. Maybe it's accounting, maybe it's HR, maybe it's whatever. There's so many aspects to running a small business. I talk to a lot of corporate people who say, I did this one thing and now I have to do everything. And so who's there to help? And of course, we do have partners that will help. We have our SCORE chapters, which are people that volunteer their time to give you advice. In fact, in a later business, after I learned about not knowing everything with my police interaction, I actually talked to SCORE and say, hey, what do I need to know to run this business? So SCORE is an opportunity. It's free counseling. Take advantage of it. We also have our women's business centers. Here in Wisconsin, we have the Women's Business Initiative Corporation. They can give you advice about going into business. They do a great job of counseling and training. They have a micro lending program and a community advantage lending program. So they can actually help you and also give you financing. So that's a great opportunity. We have another women's center up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Western Dairyland. They're there also to help you grow your business. We have our small business development centers, and they're around the state, connected through the University of Wisconsin. And they're also there. They can do one-on-one counseling and do classes. A great resource to help you get your business up and grow it. And then, of course, we have Hazel, who from the Veterans Business Outreach Center. So if you're a veteran, you have a great opportunity, and I think Hazel was already introduced, but it's a great opportunity to be able to get training on starting your business and growing your business. And Ina Willemsen is here from Wisconsin Procurement Institute. When you want to get into that federal contracting arena, what a great resource to be able to go through the Procurement Technical Center, because they're funded through Department of Defense, and Department of Defense is the biggest buyer, I think over $90 billion worth of products last year. So make use of that. They can actually set you up with an email, so when things come in your NAICS code, you can see what's out there that you can bid on from the federal side. So those are great opportunities. We also, in Milwaukee here, we have an Emerging Leaders Program, which is a growth training program. It's basically a streetwise MBA over 26 weeks. You basically go in and put a growth plan together to grow your business to the next level. We're in the middle of a class now, but if you're interested, let me know. We pay the tuition, and we do it at the Sewage District, so it's great. We're all partners here, so we all work together, and it's a great opportunity to grow your business. Thanks.
Thank you. Mino, any experience with SBA that you would like to share?
Yes, of course. 17 years ago, every single day I go to his office. I said, okay.
And I was behind her.
Yes. I have a small company. I don't have any collateral. I need. And I went and I went and I went until I get 504. Because in reality, if you want to start your business and you are a small business, without SBA, it would not gonna happen. Except you have a millions dollar cash in the bank. That's different story. But in the beginning, yes, without SBA, I was not able to make it. And I'm really, really thankful. One of his, the person worked for Eric. He retired, but as long as I am alive, I'm thinking about him. And I just always say, thank you, you made this happen for me. But when you grow and you don't really need it, you should back up, let the money and funding go to the smaller company who they really need the money to use. That's what I do right now.
Yeah, I was hoping I would be asked this question. So I actually attribute to adding jobs to his office. No, I'm just kidding. Because I used almost every program that the SBA has to offer. If I had to pay for it, I would not have been able to afford it. And I also think the same thing that Mino says, which is without the aid and the help of SBA, I may not be here today. I use their contract finance line. I use their simplified acquisition line. I use their small gap line in the beginning. So I started with like $150,000. I'm sure they have different names now, but it was a small lending program. And then I took their working capital line program. And then right now I'm in the middle of actually a contract finance line with them. So I do utilize their financial sources quite a bit. Because I am a single-owned, privately held, individually held, first-generation startup company. And I'm doing big, large, multi-million-dollar companies, and I need the aid of non-traditional banking and lending. And the SBA was there to give that guarantee to me. I also use their bonding program. I'm still in their bonding program. I use their procurement assistance program. So there are things such as set-asides, sole sourcing. I used them as often as I could. I was in their business development program, which is a 9-year program of training and education and a lot of different things from marketing to accounting to just business plans. So I involved myself in that. I also went to their FAR compliance seminars, understanding the regulations of acquisitions and contracting. I went to contract negotiations with government personnel. It was great to sit across and do mock negotiations under the auspice of a real live contract. They offer those workshops. And last but not least, you know, I also did 11 joint ventures to date underneath the small business program. And I've done 2 formal mentor proteges under the SBA program. And I can proudly say that I was the first SBA sanctioned mentor protege for the state of Wisconsin. And these programs work. I called it my diving board springboard into where I wanted to go. You don't start in a basement with $1,000 and no employees, with no customers and no sales, and in the first 9 months, move out with $600,000, and in the first year, book $2 million and have 11 employees, and in 3 years, be hitting $6 million and being in 19 states with a military contract if you don't take advantage of tools and resources. I'm not that brilliant alone. It's that I had people wanting to help that saw something was going to happen, and there were resources that people weren't using, and I didn't have to pay for them. So I think the SBA is great.
Right. Another experience of building relationships. Sounds like you've definitely, and when Eric said we're all partners, WBDC is a PTAC. So, you know, not only do we do classes within the WBDC arena, but we partner with the government agencies to make sure we can refer you. So I hope all of you are copying down all those agencies that he talked about. And I don't know, is there a .gov, is there a website that kind of lists all the different organizations?
Yeah, it's sba.gov, and
Okay.
if you go to the Wisconsin one would be /WI, so /WI.
Thank you.
And pick up a resource guide from us too. So.
Great, thank you. So we're going to shift a little bit, but we're still talking about resources and capacity building. And I'm going to ask Gina. Gina is a veteran in the banking industry, and I'm sure you've seen many trends over the years. And so as we look out at business owners knowing that they want to accelerate their growth, what preparation should companies be taking before they start looking for additional debt? What kind of recommendations would you make?
This is the perfect setup for some of the things I'd like to talk about in terms of a question like that. Right now, I mean, everybody remembers the Great Recession of 2008-9, and which was bad for a lot of businesses. But it's so far in the rearview mirror right now that there's a lot of easy money out there. And so one of the trends that I see is there's a lot of money being thrown at businesses, and you really have to decide, do you need that money? I mean, what do you need it for? So, but all the things I'm hearing, do your homework, use your resources, take advice from others, that's what you need to do. I think the SBA, obviously we're a big SBA fan, but your banks, you know, Patrick talked about that in his comments, your bank offers a lot of advice, and it's free. I mean, you know, and part of the whole idea of a bank is we're trying to become a trusted advisor, a partner, a value add. We don't want to give you $100,000 and have it, you know, and lose money on that. We want you to be successful as an organization. So I really think, you know, going back to the whole relationship building, the whole part of it. I mean, we have 50-plus-year clients who started out in their basement, and they feel like we put them in business, and we're still banking them because they feel grateful, like these two are talking about all the time. So it's not. I mean, the SBA is great, but your banks are too, and there's a lot of different banks, and it's not just Wells Fargo. There's all kinds of banks, and I get more than one opinion in many situations. Things like. And I know nothing about the story, but things like what just happened with Black Bear break my heart. You know, they just did a plant expansion, a new line, and now they're filed for receivership, and they're going out of business after 60 years. You know, and I don't know any of the background on that, but somewhere there was a misstep in terms of how much money they needed, how they could repay it, because they got upside down, and that's not what you want in your business. So you need to establish the kind of relationships you're hearing about here, whether it's with the SBA, whether it's with a banker, you know, you have to listen to people and have that advice. And if somebody says, you know, geez, I don't think this is a good idea, and here's why, and this is how I would do it, doesn't mean you have to necessarily change your whole business plan, but listen to that. Don't just take it to bank and find some bank will do it, because that may not be the best thing for your business. Listen to the people who advise you along the way, because the advice is free. I mean, all those programs she's talking about don't cost anything. Talking to your bank doesn't cost anything. And even beyond your business, you know, I'm going to be following up with Jean about the left exit part later, because I mean, banks can do that too. So there's all kinds of resources available, and I just would recommend listen and take advantage of it. Just like everybody said, do your homework, ask questions, listen, and don't think you know anything, because nobody does.
I think the important thing, and Patrick brought this up too, was the relationships with your bankers. And so a lot of times people go to banks when they need them. And what I've always been told in the small business arena, you need to go to the bank just because. You need to build those relationships so that when you do need them, they know you. And so I think that's what we're saying here. It's not just don't come when it's an emergency. Let's build those relationships in advance. Charlotte, I want you to talk a little bit more about the Metropolitan Sewerage District. And you've already talked about the strong commitment. And for them to hire you, they do have, I'm just listening to the wealth of knowledge that you have around and the passion you have around small business and development. So can you give us a little bit more information on the types of procurement opportunities?
Okay, so we are, being a public entity, everything we procure is on our website. So if you look at our website under procurement, you'll see everything that's out for bid. We also monitor what Veolia has to publicly bid everything that they do for us as well, and they're held to the same numbers that we're held to. We do anything from construction, mechanical engineering, design services, facilities, painting, a whole host of things. Anything you could think of that would be in a plant, a wastewater plant. But in addition to that, as I alluded to before, we do green infrastructure. So green infrastructure, again, is where you are helping the sustained flow of clean water. And that could mean porous pavement, that could mean bioswales, that could mean cisterns, roof gardens, a whole bunch of things that we procure. We procure stuff in our facilities. We have snow removal, paint, all those other things that you would think of. But our big bucks are in capital construction projects. One of the ways you do business with us primarily is through prime contractors. And we seriously monitor every single bid we do. I'm a numbers person. I'm the spreadsheet queen. And every single job we have, we monitor. We look at the employment. If someone says to me, I'm going to hire 3 apprentices, I better be able to go to the site and see those 3 apprentices. If someone tells me we have 20% women-owned businesses on the bid, and you're at 90% completion, and I don't see any invoices, then you're in trouble. We seriously take this as a commitment to the community, in addition to wanting to give back to our ratepayers. Everybody who lives in this area is our ratepayers. And so we need to give them the bang for their buck, and we need to utilize the businesses in this area, because then we all grow. So anytime you want to find out what we're doing, look on our website. And it's valuable to register even though you're not bidding, because, again, like the SBA, if you register and you set the right NACE code, whenever we have something bid, we send out broadcast emails that align with those codes.
Great. So my next question, we've talked about building relationships. Want to focus a little bit on risk management. We know that risk is top of mind for a lot of decision makers in corporations, and I'm sure there are examples about how you've mitigated that risk. So this is open. I don't know who wants to start, but what should small businesses do to build confidence with decision makers? That's the first part of the question, and the other is if you can provide an example of a best practice where you've seen it work very well, where minority or women-owned companies set themselves apart from their competitors. And I just, who wants to start on that? Okay, sure.
It's really important, as a person here with probably a solid procurement background, don't oversell. Don't say, the worst line I ever heard from a supplier was, he asked me, well, I want to do business with you. And I said, what do you do? And he said, well, what do you want? You know, which is ridiculous. So know exactly what's required, because the worst thing in our business in construction is we do not want you to fail once you get that bid, because we all fail. We all fail. The worst thing you want, in my past lives, I had a guy that went out of business literally in the middle of the project. One day he just did not show up to the site. And so really carefully look at the bid and look at, can I take this proposition? Can I wait? Is my cash flow correct? Corporations and businesses tend to pay long. You're not going to, net 30 sometimes means net 60. A perfect net 30 is when everything goes to the system and Susie's not on vacation. Okay, so make sure you can handle the total life cycle of a project in your risk portfolio. And it's like my dad says, all money ain't good money. You know, so some things are just not for you, even though they sound glamorous, the Buck Stadium, or I'm in on it. All money ain't good money. If you go out of business providing a service to me, then it wasn't good money.
Jean?
She's right in everything she said, by the way. I have written down, I actually wrote down, know what you do well, know what you can't do, and know what you might be able to do. Like I am a construction contractor, and I'm specialty niche. So I will stretch ourselves a little bit. I'll look for like tangent or complementary work or skill set that I can push into a space. But you really have to be able to do a self-assessment and be true with what your company or your employees are able to execute on time for a competitive dollar with the same quality you're competing against. So the whole, what do you want me to do, or I can do everything, that's almost like they'll shut you down right then and there when you're trying to sell. So you do have to know. But another thing is I always say, know the rules of engagement and know them as good or better than the people that you're competing or selling against. And it really changes. So like if you're going and if you're building a building for We Energies, and you're building a building for the Army, the building, the brick, sticks, mortar, and rock, they still sort of go together the same way, but there are devil in the details. There are devil in the details about sourcing, where your product can come from. There's devil in the details, what you can pay for it, who can be doing the work. So I would say you have to know the rules of engagement, and whether it's in the contents of certification, or whether it's in the contents of delivering the best widget, if you as a business owner have that down, I don't care if you're purple, black, or green, you're going to get the sale and you're going to be competitive. So just know your industry better than the other people. And you hit it on early true. You were talking about new upcoming rules under engineering requirements. As a small business person and as a woman-owned or minority-owned business, nobody thinks we're cutting edge. We are cutting edge if we make ourselves cutting edge. We have to be in front of, know before others, be doing homework, doing the market research, because no one's going to catch us up. We will fall behind. We have to be our own advocates. So that's just my takeaway.
You know?
I would really like to share some experience about this with you. Well, I went immediately when I got this company, I certified woman-owned business, certified quality, I certified minority company. I said, I'm going to go everywhere. They are going to give me a job. It's never happened like that. But I went, the first customer I had, Kiss New Holland, went there, and I knew Supplier. I go everywhere, Supplier, diversity manager, asking them. But he said, you're not good enough for me. You don't have the capability. You are small. How can Case New Holland come to you? But one thing from my heart, I let you know, guys. If anybody says something like that, do not even hear it. You keep going, because I never, ever, ever said, you're right, I am not. No, I'm good, and I know what I'm doing. But Case New Holland came after 1 year, said, okay, I have some service parts. Service parts, you know, as a manufacturing is very small. They already big corporation came and run production, and then when come to the service parts, they said, hey, we don't want the service parts. Throw them out because it's very little, no profit on it. But they came and said, do you want it? I said, of course I want it. I took it with very, very little reward, but case knew how and prove who the competitiveness, the capability, the on-time delivery, quality, put your heart to your job, and then deliver best you can. And I am in this moment, all the Case New Holland blueprint is just a for custom service plastics only. But that's how it is, because, you know, you would not believe it how hard we work. But I go to the customer and I talk to them. They know they have 100% my heart, because that's not, I don't take it granted. You have to do it when you get the job, when you started. You have to not thinking, oh, I want money, profit, money. That's not going to happen. You have to invest your heart and your mind to your job to just the fruit coming in the end of it. And then that's, I really would really or wanted to share with you. This is what we do. We don't, and when they said no, don't just shy away. Don't shy away.
If I could, all I have to say about that is when she said if they say no, I have to tell you, every time you hear no, or it's not you, or not this time, I say, don't believe it. But you have to listen to it. Ask why it's no. Find out why you're turned down. Find out why it didn't work. If you find out the reason behind the no, you just gained insight on how to get to yes from the decision maker. So anytime I'm told no, I listen really, really close, except my husband. I listen really, really closely because I want to know what is tweaking that. Is it my price is too high? Is it I'm too pushy? Is it I lack a resource? You know, because somebody will tell you, after they tell you no, that's the hard thing, when they tell you no. But after no, they almost feel sorry. So they'll tell you more if you're willing to say, hit me again.
Very, very, very good advice.
The other
Anyone
thing is,
else
I
wanna
just have to
comment?
add,
Eric? Okay,
don't
sorry.
be afraid to call someone who's in charge. You know, because you've dealt with a buyer, and not dismissing people that work for me as staff or anything, but especially in public procurement, I want the feedback. I want people to call me and say, well, what was the market? Why didn't I get that? Or what could I have done differently? Because I'm not in this for personal, I am in it for money, but you know, but I'm not, you know, I don't get any less or more money for not giving you any advice. And the other thing is, I've been at this so long, and a lot of you know me, I might not be able to do business with you, but I know a lot of people. And I have referred people to other people. And so if you're this type of activity is good for that. If I know what you do and someone says to me, I'm looking for a staffing person, or I'm looking for, some people that I see who made a good impression, I can refer them to other people.
Yeah, that's really actually an excellent point that I'm going to jump on too. You know, Wells Fargo has a lot of suppliers, and some are really big because we're big, and some of, you know, we had a customer who did certain things really, really well, and we had a need for that, and they were calling us saying, hey, we're taking any supplier that really deal with the really big boys and the word customer and things like that. And we said, well, you know, playing on the example here, we have to do something locally in our office. Well, they just did Chicago, they just did Denver, they just, I mean, you know, so, I mean, it's a question of don't accept no, find out why, elevate. All of those are great pieces of advice. I mean, it goes back to my personal story when someone said, no, you can't do that. Well, why not? Okay, I'll do it somewhere else. You know, I mean, if that's what you want to do, keep pursuing it. That's great success.
I think Eric, you also had that.
One of the things that you may run up against when you're getting into federal contracts, state contracts, is they may require a surety bond. And so basically the surety bond is a bond that says if you don't complete the project, the insurance company will complete or find somebody to complete the project. So SBA, and that's tough to get, especially when you're a small business and you don't have a lot of experience. So what SBA has done is we've come in and we are guaranteeing the insurance agencies who would give you the bond up to 90% to help you get that surety bond so that you can actually access and get in and bid on some of those contracts. So it's just another tool to help, and I know, Gene, you've used it, and so it works. And it also, once you've gotten it a few times, it starts building your experience with that insurance agent so you can actually get other bonds and maybe even not have to use the SBA bond, but it's a way to help build your experience.
I wanted to hit on from a corporate standpoint. When we talk with suppliers, we all have portals that we ask them to utilize. And we talk about really getting introduced to us, but also maintaining your place with us. And so those portals are utilized for us to go into, our procurement folks, to identify a supplier. That's a great way to differentiate yourself. Oftentimes people will go into the portal, they'll fill it out, and then they're done. They don't ever revisit it again. And then we go looking for a supplier, and we can't find them because they don't have an updated phone number, or the contact isn't there with the company anymore, or your services have changed, and you have not identified that with us. You've not identified your NICS codes. You've not updated your certification, and so we can't find you, and we pass you up. And so we don't have confidence that you can continually maintain your company if you're not maintaining your place in that database also. The other thing that differentiates you is really understanding how you have been different in the marketplace. And so when you are able to provide us with those case studies, for us, that helps us as supplier diversity professionals to say, you know, hey, I've got a company that was able to do this, and here's a case study that they have, versus sending us your capability statement. Because while that's all great, and I know you've taken time to put it together, those case studies really make a huge difference. And if they include things like, how have you impacted your community? Because we know that you have a connection to the community. We know that you have given back. We know that you have tried to make sure that you've not hurt the environment. You know, what makes you best in class for your company or your industry? What's your geographic reach? So can you only perform in Milwaukee, or can you perform in Wisconsin, or can you perform across the nation or globally? Those are things, if we get a quick view and our purchasing folks get a quick view, we start to build that confidence in the company that we can say, hey, we might want to work with that organization.
Very good. So these are all very good recommendations for how you start to reduce the risk and get the yes. I'm going to ask now, we're going to wind up, but I want everyone, and we can just go down the line, what are your parting comments to the audience? You've all given us very, very good insight. What would be the last thing you want to leave the audience with? And so we'll start with you, Shaleta, since you were the last one to speak.
I would say understand how to build a relationship. When you go on that first date, you don't jump in bed right away. You don't say, this is my girlfriend or boyfriend, and we are together. That's really how it works with a corporation. You build that relationship. And so your first date is getting to meet one another. You have 5 or 6 dates down the line. It's really building that relationship. And you've got to understand how that plays into your business. Also understand that corporations change. So today, this might be the buyer that you work with. Tomorrow, that might change. And whether it's the way that the organization works or whether there's restructuring, that does change. So make sure that you stay on top of that, and you are able to come in and go right to work with that next person, or already have a relationship with that next person. So it may be no today, as Jean talked about, but tomorrow it may change to yes. And that may be 9 years away. It also might be 9 days away. But understand how to grow that relationship.
And I would just advise, ask people, talk to some partners. There's people that have been in your shoes before. Get their advice, and you know, don't just use one, but you know, get mentors. I think the mentor program is a great program on helping you grow your business. So sometimes it's really a lonely place to be in a small business. but it doesn't have to. That's why these events are great. Network with people, find out what other people are doing. We have all these partners who will talk to you and would love to talk to you. Utilize them. So that's it.
I would really like to let you know the most important things works for me are offering innovative solution and with with distinct value added to operations and on-time delivery. Of course, you have to have a cost competitive to get the job, but after that, on-time delivery quality. One of the plant, we send millions parts every day out. We're making 33 to 35 million parts a year. But sometimes it's happened. My director of operations sitting there over there. If we are not ready for the customer, she tell everybody, if I'm not in the other plant calling, we need help, everybody, engineers, staff, safety engineer, process engineer, everybody, production, manager, we helping the team because that's what the customer likes. The on-time delivery, and you take the problem out of their shoulders. Because when we're doing this, your name is always background, and the people in corporation, they talk all the time. While you're sitting next to each other, oh, customer service policy, no, she's not good, she doesn't deliver. No, just do it right way. And that's really what it helped me a lot, because I put the competitiveness number one. You have to compete. After you get it, quality, on-time delivery, and sometimes come with innovation. Listen to your customer and find out what is their problem is, what is the bothering them, and take that one and solve it for them. Then they never forget about it. That's hopefully just a little advice from me.
So I agree with what everybody has said before me. So I'm going to try and not repeat any of those pieces of wisdom, because on-time quality and safety, manufacturing or construction or repaying a loan or signing a contract is also important, right? I would say one of the hardest things being an entrepreneur and then growing the company at different rates that I have experienced was trying to have stability measured with ambition. Stability, profit, what I know, what I've been doing for 3 years, what I've been doing for 8 years. You can't lose focus of what you know well and does well for you. Keep it, because it's what puts food on your plate. But there's nothing, I think you have to have your feet on both sides. I think while you're doing that, you always have to look at what's going on and where's the next growth, where's the next market, where can I stretch myself? Because as you mentioned, suppliers change, clients change, markets change. That stability with growth and having some vision where one doesn't outpace the other one. And then the easiest one for me that I think I've capitalized on the most, or when I don't necessarily like the whole outcome of something, you have to look at things with multiple effects. So when you make a decision about hiring somebody, or you make a decision about going after a new customer, or you make a decision about I'm going to add a division, whatever it is, when you're doing that for your company, and some of us are doing that very alone. Some of us are real true like owner-operators, and we don't have boards and everything. It's hard to always trust yourself alone. I always tell myself I might not make the right decision, or I might not make the decision that everybody else would have made, but what am I going to get out of it? What is a positive effect? And because then if I make a wrong decision, or I make a short-sighted decision, if I'm going after something that has multiple good effects, something's got to ring. So let's say I chase a job at MMSD and I overbid it because it was just outside my wheelhouse. Okay, but when I went and did that, I already knew that I was going to gain exposure to, let's say, a new engineer. I was going to gain an advantage to working with a different client. Or let's say I hired a new employee and he didn't work out. But what did I gain from meeting that individual, and what did I gain from the customer relationships that they had? You really, time and opportunity costs for us, it's just huge. Some of us are accountants, salespeople, and managers. Or some of us are running the press and doing the books at night. I don't know all of you, but I know y'all do more than one job if you're a sole entrepreneur. Opportunity costs are huge. You're never going to get it back. So if you're going to put your time and energy somewhere, look for something that's going to give you more than one outcome. Because that outcome may not happen, and you would hope that when it's all done, something came from that.
Great advice, Charlotte.
Okay, so I've bought everything from pencils and pens to baseballs, pipes, generators, you name it, I've bought it for the brewers, for Siemens, for whatever. And we all have, we all are socially responsible. We have a commitment to this. But the bottom line, as a procurement person will tell you, it is about the money. It's really about the money. We're not, you guys are not in here for, I'm not denying any commitment, excuse me if you're offended, but everybody, it's about the money. So know who you can bid to. Know if it's a losing proposition for you. Don't be afraid to walk away, because it's, I met Charlotte and Charlotte wants me to do this job. I want to be an MSD. Should I? No, it's about the money. Don't ever forget. It's about the money, and your time is money. That's all we all have is time. So I would say no one to walk away. It's nice to have social commitments. We all do, and we all believe in them, but you're in business to make money. And I'm in business to solve a problem the most efficient, cost-effective way.
So I also agree with everything that people have said, and I've already made some comments about, be persistent and don't accept no and things like that. But another piece of advice, because I've been around a long time, is really observe the golden rule, because your reputation is critical to your success. And so all those relationships that you have, you can be aggressive, you can be assertive, you can be persistent, but don't be a jerk. Because that reputation will follow you around to other companies and things like that. And when you're talking about all the different companies you work for, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't get those opportunities if you had a bad reputation with the one before that. And same with the suppliers. Talking about with CNH, if she hadn't done a great job with the parts and developed a really strong reputation, she wouldn't have gotten the next job and be doing all their business today. So I think that's really critical to long-term success in any relationship or any business.
Wonderful, thank you. And I'd like for all of you guys to help me thank the panelists. They've been wonderful. You've got so much good information.